Alright, what is up, you guys? I am here continuing the SummerSlam reviews with 2005. Hogan versus Michaels for the first time ever. This was in Washington, D.C., so, it's one of those events I probably could have went to and I never did, so that sucks. But overall, I enjoy this SummerSlam a lot. Obviously, it's going to have its flaws. It's not the best SummerSlam, but, I really did enjoy rewatching it because this is one I had to rewatch because I haven't seen it in years. So, it's really cool to go back and watch these Ruthless Aggression era pay-per-views, ones that I grew up with, the environment I grew up with. So, this is my favorite part of this review series for sure. So, first up, we have Orlando Jordan versus Chris Benoit for the United States Championship. And this is basically a squash match. You get a few suplexes, a crippler crossface, and then you're done. Your new United States champion, Chris Benoit. And I do want to mention, I posted this on my Instagram page, at the DVD_freak. But I posted this, and, I guess I kind of sorted this out, and I finally kind of made a decision, because a lot of people always ask me, what's your all-time favorite stage? And I can never really answer it, but, now I'm pretty confident in saying SummerSlam 2005 is my all-time favorite stage. So there's the answer finally for everyone who's been asking me. So, next we have Matt Hardy versus Edge, one of my all-time favorite rivalries ever. I'm serious. This brings back so many memories, and, I love realism in terms of, in wrestling and film. I love realistic storylines, realistic nature. And, this really crossed those lines of being realistic. There was a lot of realism in this rivalry because of the circumstances. This wasn't just some story. It was real life turned into a story. And then I could make a whole video about this rivalry, to be honest. That's how much I love it. But, this match is kind of disappointing. Leading in, it's really good. You have just, they're hitting each other. Like I said, this is some real stuff right here. This is some real anger coming out. They're pounding each other. And, they're really not pulling back. And you can watch, interviews and stuff where they basically said this was letting a lot of anger out. And Matt Hardy gets busted open, blade job busted open on the ring post, and the referee basically stops the match. Kind of like a Great American Bash 2008 type of thing. So yeah, it's disappointing because, later on we have Hulk Hogan bleeding buckets, and that match doesn't end. I feel like you could have picked a different way to end this match, and really kind of, make it more brutal. If you really want to have the match go to almost like a TKO, that's basically what it was. I feel like you just could have done something better. Go through the stage, or, have Matt Hardy, blowing up in pyrotechnics or something. Just something that has a good reason to stop the match. Just, I don't know, I thought it was kind of a piss poor ending, but a good match leading into it. Next we have Undertaker versus Randy Orton. I thought this was a really good match. I think the ending kind of ruined it, though. Great chemistry between these two and a great rivalry they had in, mid to late 2005. And, of course, this is where you bring Cowboy Bob Orton into the mix. He's dressed as a fan. He comes in, basically interferes in the match and distracts The Undertaker, get an RKO for the win for Randy Orton. So, it was a good match. It would have been better with a more definitive ending, but, you gotta keep the rivalry going, so I understand. And, I liked when Cowboy Bob Orton was managing his son, so I thought that was cool. Then we have Eugene versus Kurt Angle. Surprisingly, this is a good-ass match. This is a hard-hitting, fast-paced match. And, Eugene, obviously he played this retarded character, but he actually was a very talented wrestler in OVW and, just the independents before it and after it. And, they gave him this gimmick, and you got to give him credit. He ran with it, and it ended up being a pretty damn good match. It's only a few minutes long with Kurt Angle, but it was actually really fast-paced. The crowd was into it. And that's another thing I did want to say. This crowd for this pay-per-view was amazing. They really were. An electric crowd. This is how a crowd should always be. So, yeah, decent match there. Kurt Angle getting the win and getting his gold medal back. And then we have Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero in the ladder match for the custody of Dominic. Pretty infamous rivalry here. Infamous storyline. I'm kind of mixed on the whole Dominic thing. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of obvious he's Rey Mysterio's son, so I feel like it's just kind of worthless to do that. But whatever. I'm sure there were some people that actually believed it. But yeah, this ladder match, there's a lot of botches. There's Vicky Guerrero missed her cue completely, and they had to improvise. And there's actually like a 30-second time period where Eddie Guerrero's just pounding the mat, swearing, pissed off because Vicky missed her cue. That's who Eddie was. He was a perfectionist. He's like the Chris Benoit, the Macho Man. He's a perfectionist, and you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, they missed the cue here. And there were some other spots, like, an overhead powerbomb off the ladder was missed by Eddie. Ray fell on the ladder pretty hard when he really wasn't supposed to. But it's still a good put-together match. I enjoy this ladder match. And I think Rey Mysterio has actually said this is his favorite match he's ever had. So, it's definitely a good ladder match. I just feel like, there were some obvious spots and botches. And then we have John Cena versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. This match was also pretty damn good. The crowd was so electric for this. There was like a few minutes straight where they were just chanting, let's go Cena, let's go Jericho. It's pretty epic. Like, it gave me chills watching that crowd. They were really into this. It's a really good match. Obviously, you have John Cena getting the win, and this was Chris Jericho's final pay-per-view match of his initial WWE run. And you can kind of tell he's burnt out a little bit. Like, Chris Jericho's just kind of not himself, but he still puts on a great match. And, got to give him credit. A solid WWE title match there. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Batista versus JBL. No holds barred match for the world title. This match is basically worthless. Batista got a good ovation from his hometown crowd, which is cool. I'm a Batista fan. But this match just didn't work. I always felt like JBL and Batista didn't have the chemistry. I just feel like they really didn't work together. And that's neither of their faults. They're both good talents. JBL's a natural heel. But for me, this just didn't work. The match was pretty short, and it really didn't need to be no holds barred. I feel like it was just on there to be a gimmick match and to please that hardcore audience. So, yeah, this didn't work. But, of course, we have Batista retaining the title. And then finally, your main event. We have Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels for the first time ever. Legend versus Icon. So, yeah, this match has become infamous. Obviously, this was supposed to be a 3-match series with Hulk Hogan putting Shawn Michaels over and then Michaels returning the favor. And then, this just spiraled out of control. Hulk Hogan basically didn't want to put Shawn Michaels over, and they basically just made it a 1-match series now. So, 1-time match, and Shawn Michaels kind of threw a hissy fit and made the match a complete joke, basically. But if you watch it, you can see Shawn Michaels overselling, just making a complete joke out of this. It's entertaining to watch in hindsight, but at the same time, this could have been a more epic match. And it's both of their faults, really. Their egos got in the way. Shawn Michaels couldn't just kind of deal with it. He had to, of course, make a mockery out of it. But it's still a decent match. Hulk Hogan bled pretty heavily from a blade job. And I don't know. It just kind of sucks because he bleeds heavily here. but then you have Matt Hardy. Yeah, I'm going back to this. It pissed me off. But then you have Matt Hardy bleeding a little less, and the match gets stopped. So, like I said, that's the main flaw for me. But good main event. It's good to see a blade job occur from punches, because usually it's a steel chair shot or ring post. No, this was from the bare knuckle punch, which you have to give credit there. It brings some realism into it. It's not very often you just see someone getting punched, and that's how they get busted open. It's happened a few times, obviously, but just kind of good to see that. So overall letter grade for this pay-per-view, I'm gonna give this a B. I think it's a very solid show, very enjoyable, and a good SummerSlam. So let me know your thoughts down below, what your letter grade and everything would be. For now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.